Hi, my name is Joe and welcome to another quick edition of Joe's Technology. Today I'm looking at building another system. Yes, another PC build video at PCPartPicker.com. If you're not familiar with this website, it's a vendor-neutral site designed to help PC builders choose parts for their systems. It's vendor agnostic, and it lets you know where it's seen the best prices on the parts that you've chosen from the big OEM suppliers that are known and reputable. Sure, there are lots of mom and pop shops that will not be listed here, but there's a reason they're not listed here. So here we're putting together systems, and one of the things that I've been looking at recently was a friend had been asking me about putting together a build and making it really cheap. And so I thought to myself, well, cheap, the first name that comes to mind is AMD, because they had their whole line of APUs and that had integrated graphics processing units built into CPUs so that you could build a system without having to have the big expensive graphics card. Now here's the problem. As I looked at that, I got some feedback saying, well, Joe, you need to pair a really expensive memory with those APUs to get the best performance. So I just uploaded a video that demonstrates what happens in terms of price when you get the most powerful APU you can get teamed with the most powerful memory that APU can take advantage of so you can unlock its full potential. And then I looked at the price, and it occurred to me that right now there's a bit of a price war on in the graphics market, and I really believe that for what those APUs are costing, you could probably just build a system with a discrete GPU instead for the same amount of money. So I decided to test that theory by going here to PC Part Picker. So let's get started. So let's see, we're assuming that we're on a budget, but at the same time we want to have the best performance we can for the buck. So in this build we're actually going to start with a video card. Now what I thought of is that since we'd looked at the A10, I think it was the 7850K was the top of the line AMD APU at the time, which is basically an R7 250-ish type performance, if you've got the right memory paired with it. Well, something that would blow that out of the water on a budget would be the 750 Ti, the GTX 750 Ti, but one in particular. Of all the different vendors that make 750 Ti cards, EVGA makes one in particular that pulls ahead of the rest of the pack. And they call that the For the Win edition. As you can see, there is only one. Now the For the Win edition is really not that expensive, but it's very interesting in the fact that normally all these 750 Ti cards are little guys. Notice that this card is full length, so it's a big card. Not only is it big, but it has all kinds of great options. Now notice this. We've got our DVI, we've got HDMI, and we have DisplayPort. This card is ready right out of the box to offer us 4K resolution, which there are many other 750 Ti cards that for whatever bizarre reason did not include DisplayPorts. They'll tell you, well, you can take a couple of HDMI ports and plug them together and it's like, what you get from the DisplayPort. Like, okay, well, I'll just buy a For the Win edition. EVGA seems to have been doing a very good job with cards. In fact, this video is being recorded right now on an EVGA 780 Ti. I've been very happy with EVGA. I was such a Gigabyte fanboy. I really hate to admit it, and EVGA has really won me over. And of course there's the adapter. If you're the weirdo that's still using VGA, instead of sticking that ugly VGA connector on the card, they'll allow you to adapt it off the DVI and put it on there. By the way, it even comes with your little 6-pin Molex adapter. The card does require some external power, so EVGA has you covered on that. In fact, here, let's see. We should be able to see it. Well, it's there someplace. Oh, there it is. Here's our 6-pin connector to be able to provide power for the card. So even if your power supply doesn't have a 6-pin connector, they provide an adapter that you can make use of. As you can see, it's rated pretty highly. 4 out of 5 stars. Oh, well, it says 4.8 average. This is very well deserved. Of all the TIs, this is the most powerful, by far. So, we're starting out with the 750 Ti for the win as our base. And so everything else is built around that. Well, we need a CPU that's going to keep up. That won't be too expensive, but at the same time is not going to bottleneck this card. So, let's just go ahead and... Sorry, AMD, but the G3258 is just too cheap. It's a nice, inexpensive Pentium processor. It does the job. I bought one of these already, and I've been very happy with it. You know, running at 3.2 gigahertz. Now, it doesn't support hyper-threading, you know, like its big brother, the i3, does. But trust me, for gaming, this will do plenty, especially when paired with the 750 Ti for the win. For a CPU cooler, you know, let's go ahead and save some money here. It doesn't have to be anything too expensive. There's one company I'm thinking of in particular. Whoops, you know what? I think I'm misspelling their name. Masscool. Yeah, here we are. And let's see, which one was it? It was the FM94. There we go. Alright, now granted, this CPU cooler doesn't look like much, but well, you know what? That's not even a good picture of it. Here, let's go to Newegg. I'm sure we'll be able to get a better photo. This CPU cooler, oh yes, Newegg puts their watermarks on it. That's fine. They took the picture. They should get the credit. As you can see, it's a fairly simple cooler. You got a big old fan sitting on top of a nice, generously sized heatsink. And this is basically very similar to the heatsink that comes included with the Pentium processor. Okay, so why do we care? Well, it's not any louder than the heatsink that comes with the Pentium, and it actually will dissipate more heat. So if you want to have fun, game, maybe a little light overclocking, you know, this should be fine. Now, if you plan to really go bonkers, you'll probably want to use a different heatsink. So in this case, I'm just picking this because it's inexpensive, and I want to demonstrate that we can get to at or below the price of an AMD APU system running at max and use a full discrete graphics card. I mean, like I said, the For the Win is a big full-size card rather than those little half-height, you know, I mean those half-length guys that most of the other 750 Ti's are. Again, let's go ahead and go with an old standby. I've been, in fact, you may have seen this one in a few videos. The B85M DS3H. This is a motherboard from Gigabyte that will support our 1150 socket processor. And the nice thing about it is that it has a whole bunch of SATA connectors. You can go crazy with adding drives to this. It has 6 SATA 3, 2 SATA 2s. It has a PCIe 3, 16 slot, so our card should be able to go in there and get the full memory bandwidth that it needs. The one thing, though, speaking of memory, is that that motherboard tops out at, for, what is it, DDR3 1600 is the most that it'll take, which is just fine. We're not really that worried about the memory speed because the memory is not going to be as critical as the graphics card is. The graphics card will do most of the work, and it has its own internal memory. Unlike the AMD APU build, where we were desperate. We're like, oh, we got to have 2400, you know, RAM. You know, otherwise it's not going to run as fast. So here, I could just go ahead and go with this Crucial Ballistics Sports. You've probably seen Crucial Ballistics listed in videos of lots of other builders. It's cheap, and you can rely upon it. It's pretty good stuff. So 2 4GB sticks gives us 8 gigs of RAM, and it's not even all that expensive. Alright, for storage, we'll go with an old standby, never seems to fail, the Western Digital 10 EZEX 7200 RPM Caviar Blue 1 TB. So plenty of room to install stuff, and in fact this is the same hard drive that we picked for our AMD APU build, so it makes a good comparison. For the case, here, let's go ahead and take a look. I was looking at the different cases, and there was one problem that was being posed to us, in that because this is a really long card, many of these other cases feature drive cages that go down the inside. And so if you have a big card, you end up covering up some of them. So you don't get to take advantage of all the drive bays that are available. And the motherboard we selected had all of these great SATA connectors to plug drives in, so it would be a shame to sacrifice some. So that's why I went looking here, and here let's see our different vendors, and we will filter them. And one vendor in particular popped out at me, and that is Rosewill. Oh, good grief. I forget how many cases Rosewill has. So let's see, we want the FBM 02. Alright, there can be only one. And here, let's take a look and see why we want this case. Alright, well, it doesn't look like anything special, right? Simple case, got a 5 1/4 bay, got a 3 1/2 inch bay, so if you still have floppy drives, hey, Rosewell's got you covered. If you want to put in an optical drive, you can. I'm not going to put one in this build because, I'm talking, this thing would play Steam games and things like that. Ah, here's the beauty. Now, notice that the drive cages only go part of the way down, and then all of this area, which comes with a fan, by the way, is open. So here are the expansion slots. So our little motherboard goes here. Our expansion slots are here, and imagine that big full-size card with plenty of room to stretch out with no problems. So we can use all the drive bays that we currently have available inside the case and have no obstructions for our card. And in fact, there's enough space that if you wanted to, you could put 2 cards in side by side, although the motherboard that we've chosen in this case will only support 1, which is fine. In many cases, it's a bit of a fallacy that some people believe, hey, if I buy 2 GPUs and combine them together in SLI or Crossfire, I'm going to get so much more performance. The problem is that programs, video games in particular, have to be written to take advantage of Crossfire or SLI. So in many cases, you spend a whole bunch of money for that second GPU, and it just sits there. That's why I'm trying to get the best GPU, best single GPU we can for the dollars, and that way everything takes full advantage of the 750 Ti's capabilities. Alright, so now we need a power supply. Now normally, I would be happy with a 430 watt, but in this case we're drawing a little bit more power than normal. Plus, as you can see, the CX500 currently is a bit cheaper than its 430 watt counterpart. So we'll go ahead and add that. This gives us room to grow. As you can see, we're currently sitting at 212 watts, so a 500 watt should be just fine. That way we don't have to worry about too many problems. Here's the nice thing about this 750 Ti is, unlike the bigger, thirstier cards, 60 watts. Not too bad. Alright, so let's see. That should be just about it. That's everything. So we top out at $427.25. Well, that's assuming that all the mail-in rebates come forward. Otherwise, it's $482. So here, let's make a quick comparison, just so that you can see why I found this interesting. Whoops! Oh shoot! I typed that wrong. Fat finger. All right, there we go. All right. So if I go here to my saved parts lists. And let's see, the maximum performance APU for gaming. Ooh, look at that. 428. Whoops, I'm hitting the wrong button here. Ah, there we go. F11. Alright, so 428, if we take an AMD A10 7850K, give it the memory that it needs so that it gets the maximum performance. It still has a terabyte of storage. In fact, it's the exact same drive, a 430 watt, aftermarket cooler, a little motherboard. Or 427.25. Let's see what these are without the discounts. Does it tell me? Here, let's see. Without the discount, this one's 453. Okay, so without discounts, it's more. If the discounts apply, it's less. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, with the prices this close, I hate to say it because I love the concept of AMD APUs, but it's just not worth it. If you only have a few dollars to spend, and you want to have a nice little gaming system, start with a 750 Ti for the win, and you'll be so much happier, and the performance will be so much better than anything you could ever get out of an AMD A10 780 or 7850K. You know, AMD will tell you, hey, you know, if you buy this, it's an upgrade path because then you can stick a discrete GPU and crossfire them. But the 750 Ti for the win can beat what the A10 and a compatible R7 250 would be able to do in crossfire together. And plus, like I said, you have to worry about, is the program that I'm trying to run written to take advantage of crossfire? Because if it's not, then you're still just using your A10 or your discrete GPU, whichever you have it set up for. Whereas the 750 Ti is the 750 Ti, and the For the Win edition in particular is a very nicely done one. It's a shame. It's a shame. Now we still have, if you're interested, I mean, if you're really on a budget and there's nothing else you can do about it, let's see here, save parts list. This is as cheap as it gets, you know, 340, an A10 5800K, and you'd be able to play World of Warcraft or something simple like that. That's not too bad. Performance is not fantastic or stellar, but it's a very inexpensive computer that you could upgrade later by simply adding a discrete graphics card too. But like I said, the difference between 340 and 427, not that much. I would just save my money and start off with one of these. I'm sorry guys, I actually have an AMD APU of myself. I have a Gigabyte Bricks that comes with an A8 inside it. It's not an A10, but it's okay. It's a little desktop machine. But I think that's going to be the last APU I buy. Yeah, they're just not able to compete with the price drops in the big NVIDIA cards. Oh well. So this has been my little build. Don't spend money on APUs if what you're looking for is some playable gaming performance. They're not bad, but for the dollars you can get more.